Welcome to my course, Creating Lines in the Style of Charlie Christian. This is a piggyback course to my previous Charlie Christian course called Charlie Christian Playing the Blues. In Charlie Christian Playing the Blues, we looked at 4 Charlie Christian blues solos and talked about all the different things he used when it came to navigating the fretboard, navigating the changes, what he did harmonically, what he did with the blues. And this course is all about taking those ideas and putting them into our own playing. I've broken this course into 4 sections. We're going to take a look at 4 different licks, 4 very unique Charlie Christian licks, something unique that he brought to the guitar playing at the time, and that is still very applicable to guitar playing today. And we're going to put these licks through a couple different paces. In this first section, we're going to take a look at something I do when I learn a lick, and I call this rearranging the lick. If you're following along on the PDF, here's the first lick. A 1, 2, 3. So we're in the key of A flat. This is a basic Charlie Christian lick that you can hear him start a ton of blueses off with, a ton of solos, no matter the type of tune. And it's a really simple idea, and it can really be used in a lot of different ways. So we're working from this A flat chord here, just an A flat triad, and we're just raking up the chord starting on the 4th string. From there we're coming down and playing just a little kind of scalular, just a little passing line really, and it's starting on the flat 7, so we're going flat 7 of A flat, that's G flat, the 6, that's F, the 5, that's E flat, the D flat, that would be the 4, and then from there we're enclosing or circling around the C note, which is the 3rd, and that's something you hear all the guys in the swing era do and in the bebop era, and circling around notes, specifically that 3rd. So the lick played a little slower. We've got 1, 2, 3. Alright, so that's the lick. The second part of the PDF, we're breaking the lick into 3 different parts. We've got what I call part 1, the arpeggio. So that's just simply going up the arpeggio. Part 2, I call this kind of the filler lick. It's just kind of a, what I was saying, a scalular, just going down the pool of notes in A flat or A flat 7. And we've got, right, really simple. And then the part 3, I'm going to call the enclosure of the C note. So those are the 3 parts we're going to work with, and the 3 parts we're going to arrange and rearrange. So if we're looking at the first little example of kind of rearranging these things, it's called reversing the arpeggio. So I'm simply taking this first arpeggio that we play, but I'm going to start now on the 5th of the arpeggio, the E flat, and come backwards through it, like so. And it's already going to sound like a new lick, a new idea. So let me play this for you in time, and then I'll break it down a little more. A 1, 2, 3. Alright, so that's just simply taking the first part of the lick you learned and just reversing it. I like this the way it sounds better starting on the 5th rather than going like that. But that doesn't mean that you can't start it there. So what I have here is just playing the 5th down the arpeggio, and then I really like that sound of jumping up the octave to the A flat. That's something I've heard Charlie do, and a lot of other guys too, but just displacing the octave and moving up. That's a really nice kind of ear-grabbing moment where you go from low to high very quickly. It's nice and dramatic. So we can play down the arpeggio, up the octave, and then we're just coming down just like the rest of the lick from the beginning. Alright? And that, to me, sounds like a pretty different lick compared to... So if you're playing the blues going... to me, that has a lot of integrity to it, and it has a lot of idea development, because we start one way, we come down, we play a little blues lick in the middle there, and then we do the same thing again, but we just reverse it. But there's a consistency between the two, and it just doesn't sound like you're playing licks. You're developing an idea. And this is something, it's hard, but I think this is the kind of way of doing it, is just simply reversing the order of things. So that's the first thing. We're going to reverse the first part, the arpeggio. Now if we look next, we're going to reverse what I call the filler. This is that in-between part, right? But this time, instead of playing down, I'm going to have you start, and we're going to play up to the flat 7. So that's A flat, E flat, F, flat 7. Or the G flat, excuse me. So now we've got this lick. We have 1, 2, 3. To me, again, it sounds like kind of a new lick. Right? So we're going up the arpeggio like normal. And then we're just playing straight to the E flat. And then we're enclosing the C and then coming back down. So we've got... Now, take the idea from the previous example of reversing the arpeggio and try reversing both of them. So now we've got 1, 2, 3. Oh man, that sounds like a completely new idea, but it's just all the stuff we're recycling, but we're kind of putting our own composing and arranging to it. So let's try it in a little bit of blues. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So that's using both of those ideas and borrowing from the reverse arpeggio and reversing the filler. But again, you're creating kind of a consistency between the two ideas and having some continuity in your solo. All right, so we've reversed the arpeggio, we reversed the filler. Now let's reverse the enclosure. So this one's going to sound, we're taking that, and we're now, instead of approaching it from above to get to the C, we're going to approach it from below. So we're going to play... So D flat to C, back to the A flat. So reversing the enclosure will sound like this. 1, 2, 3. All right. So I just took the same idea of going up the arpeggio, and then I kept the reverse of the filler because I really like the sound of moving up to the flat 7 and then playing that flat 3rd, then encircling around it. So really nice. We've got, you know, the lick starting normal and then reversing the second two parts of it. So we've got 1, 2, 3. Now what if we reversed everything in that? You might have 1, 2, 3. Sounds completely different too. You've got your own lick. So again, let's put it in the blues. I'm going to take an idea of reversing the enclosure in the first part, and then I'll just do reverse the enclosure from like the straight lick, and then in the second part, when I kind of restate an idea, I'm going to add another kind of reversal into it. So we got 1, 2, 3. All right, so that was just me playing the lick normal with the reversed enclosure, and then I played a little blues lick, and then I went a reverse, I believe a reverse arpeggio, and then went down, then reversed the enclosure. And so by doing that, I now have a lot of ideas at my disposal outside of just playing the lick verbatim. And all that was me doing was kind of taking a moment and thinking, okay, let's divide this phrase up into a couple of parts, workable parts, and then just rearrange the order of them. That's simple. And that's something I would do whenever you're transcribing, learning licks, whatever you're doing. Take the ideas you learn and just at the first rearrange them, and you'll get some mileage out of them. All right, so the last part here is just completely rearranging the order of the lick. That's something, once you've rearranged the different parts within context, take the lick completely and reorder it. So in this example, we have something that sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So what I started here was with the filler, and then I went up the arpeggio, and then I did the enclosure. Alright, so that's a pretty nice idea. I did filler, arpeggio, enclosure. Let's try doing the same kind of idea, and let's play the arpeggio, then we'll do the enclosure, and then we'll do the filler. See how it sounds? It might sound awful, but hey, you got to experiment with this stuff. That's what's most important here. So go 1, 2, 3. All right. Try another idea. Let's do the same thing. I'm gonna mess around with the rhythm a little more to it, which will kind of segue into the next section. We got 1, 2, 3. Something like that. Let's try reversing the arpeggio and doing the same kind of order. 1, 2, 3. There's all sorts of stuff we can do here. Let's add, let's take the enclosure, arpeggio, filler. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Something like that. Let's try the same thing, but just, mess around with more of the alteration of it. So let's go from above to below. So 1, 2, 3. So there's all sorts of different little options, and the best thing you can do is put on a blues and just mess around with it. So I'll do that kind of with the context of it again. 1, 2, 3. All sorts of different options you have there. So experiment with this stuff. That's the best way to do it. Rearrange the actual movement of each part of your lick you have, and then rearrange the actual order of it. And just kind of let it swing. Don't be scared to mess around with the rhythm, which is exactly what the next section we'll get into, is messing around with the rhythm.